SFJ 4x4 Studios presents
in my oversized four-wheel drive Jeep.
a Jeep podcast starring industry experts.
Pure monosity.
What? Say that again.
With mad scientist Scott Brown,
Use my drill press as a sort of lathe.
our host Neil Simpson,
If one light goes out, they all go out.
filled with shenanigans.
We are really professional with Jeeps.
This is I Speak Jeep.
Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever, however you are joining us. No, Davey, not that. Don't do that, Davey. Don't.
Wow.
The yellow container and yonder on Scott's dirty workbench is what we need. If you are joining us,
They make fire.
the fire maker. I love the fact that Savage, yes,
Wow.
sir. Yeah, hand that to Scott. He's gonna set it next to him. Don't worry if you're watching us on live.
And there's Savage.
There's the Savage.
He made He his was on debut. camera. Woo!
Woohoo!
Made his debut there.
And you know what? Don't worry, because Diesel. This is what we're doing today, folks.
I can't.
There's the
is.
Diesel dog in the film. You know what? If you're listening to us and this is the first time you've heard our podcast,
We apologize.
I got to be honest. We're really good at Jeeps. We've become fair at podcasting despite Jeffrey's best efforts. And at this point, the old dog. If you're on my personal social media, you would have caught a picture of the Diesel dog loaded up in the back of Chuck Norris, the LJ,
And what it
headed to
is,
work.
Now he sees this living room that we've created.
Inspired by Kevin Halloran, one of
Yes.
our listeners, friends, and great customers.
So all we're missing is the
We
rug.
need Grandma's carpet to
Right.
go.
And Diesel's like, this is where I lay now.
This is where he lays, right?
Which is okay. He's just off camera.
He's just off camera. He's right at our feet, where we're a
an
good
old,
pup.
old dog.
Where an
should
old
be.
dog should be.
Yeah.
So real quick, we got a lot of people signing in with comments, but let's do our introductions.
Oh,
Oh well, Diesel dog here.
Diesel's right there.
Diesel is right here, folks. It was off camera. If you're listening to us and you were hoping for a Jeep-inspired podcast, I promise you'll
We'll
get
get
some
there.
of that. We'll get there.
We have a special guest today too.
We do have a special guest, so you're definitely going to want to stay in tune for
We're
that.
doing stuff.
Oh my gosh! Don't
do
worry.
that.
Don't
do
worry.
that.
Don't worry. The mics are just moving
Yeah,
on
it's
our
fine.
end. Jeff got in early and helped
Did
set
stuff.
up our boom mics so that we're not holding things full. So
Plus
since I'm
we
not
have a
holding a
monitor.
microphone, I am holding my coffee instead. And
Are you missing your cup again?
I know where my cup is.
It's just not.
All right, let's go to introductions.
Yeah,
then we're
we
going
still
to
don't know
maybe
who anybody
circle back
is, so
around
let's do
to.
that.
My name is Neil with Simpson Family Jeeps, SFJ4x4.com. And I am joined, as usual, with our esteemed producer, Scott.
All right, Scott.
Yo, Scott's doing things to me. He's rubbing off.
'cause his
Our
cup's
producer and our vintage restoration expert. You gentlemen are whom?
So I'm Jeff Shermani, the producer.
Are you sure?
The producer.
Yes.
I haven't heard the right name yet.
Oh, the Italian stallion.
There it is.
There it is.
Wearing his driver's cap, and he
Yes,
will
as
bury you in
normal.
the back of his trunk of my black
Yes.
Cadillac.
Yes. I let too much out now.
Ah.
And I'm the maddest scientist, Scott Brown. Or
gentleman.
Doc Brown, I've heard.
You know what? Somebody talked to
Great
Davey.
Scott.
Somebody talked to Davey over the weekend. God, I couldn't even remember who. I don't. Somebody was talking to me. This is a great story already, but they were like,
It's a normal Neil story.
Davey.
Who's on first?
Are we gonna get to the punchline of this?
No, and then I found $5. Oh my goodness! They were talking about seeing Davey. They were talking about seeing Davey, and they were really excited. I don't know if it was a parade, if it was a particular event, whatever.
It's all of his energy, huh?
And Savage was like, "Yeah, I can do that."
yeah.
And they were like, "Is that what it's like to work with Scott as well?" And I was like, "Yep, that's."
It's about the most excitement you get out of me is on
I was
here.
gonna say they even me out. That's
Yeah.
the big difference.
Yeah, he's very
right?
excitable.
So
to
here's
say the least.
here's
I'm just going to keep touching this microphone and moving it around.
whatever.
All right, there we go. I'm feeling like
Now
I'm
it's
making out
in
with
your
it now.
face now.
In my mouth.
It's kind of deserving, you know.
You know, at least you sound good. That's I think.
I do sound good.
It sounds good in our
It
headphones.
sounds great in our headphones. Hopefully,
Oh.
it sounds great to you, our listening base. And thank you for tolerating us. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
So real quick, Chip saying morning, SFJ.
Good morning.
Joe said fire, good.
Fire is
Fire
perfect.
is your
Solid in
friend.
Fire.
Ken said morning.
Morning.
Chuck Savage butt bombed the podcast. I'm censoring it so Chuck doesn't
don't
get
get-
banned again.
Don't get
That's
banned
right.
again, Chuck.
Darla said good morning, guys.
Good morning,
Darla.
Amy said good morning, guys.
Good morning, honey.
And Justin said we all are couldn't even remember scientists.
No,
Uh-huh.
I feel called out.
right. What a great group joining us. If you're listening to us in your ear holes on your commute, on the airplane, while mowing the lawn, driving truck, first of all, thank you so much for choosing to listen to our shenanigans, our automotive talk, and in general, what's going on in our lives. You are our base, and you are our greatest supporter, all three of you. If it is your day off and you would like to join us on a Monday sometime, you too can join us live at roughly 10:19 a.m. on Mondays,
Yep.
where we, engage with you via the Book of Faces and working forklift, Justin says. That's what he's
Yep.
doing right now.
Wow,
So
completely understandable.
yeah, yes. So we value that, but you too can be part of the conversation in live, in the comment section. Hang out in there, meet some of the other people. It's funny, the feedback I've gotten before, people who are listening, longtime listeners of us, who say, on that random day off or that fake meeting that you've scheduled.
That's a real meeting. It's just with us.
It's just a real meeting. It's just with us.
yeah, that's fine.
That's a It's a business consultation.
It's fine.
There we go.
Everything's fine.
Yes. That you can jump in the comments, and that's what people have, their feedback has been. It's fun to hang out in there and talk with other people.
And if you enjoy that, then you got to be a Patreon and get on the Discord.
Yeah,
You know what?
If we
We had
haven't
a-
annoyed you enough, join
Yes.
Patreon. We did. You were going to say it. Go
Well,
ahead.
go ahead. No, we have a new, another Patreon joined last night.
Yes.
Sam, thank you for being part of that. We've had a number and growing community. A number of people join and become a growing community on our Patreon page.
Yep.
You get access. Certain levels get access to a chat room, basically with us via Discord.
You get to see our cool pictures.
There's extra cool pictures. There's some behind the scenes sneak peeks out of Scott's Metal Shop and some of the projects we're working on here.
Yep.
My house build, oversized storage unit.
Yes. it's fine.
Jeffrey's pirate ship, some of the behind the scenes setup for events or shows and shop work
Get
that
to
we're
talk
doing.
camper with us,
Absolutely.
as last night was.
Right. So a lot of cool endeavors on there, and so thanks Sam for joining last night, or just as of last night. So very cool, very cool to have you on board. Like Jeffrey had started to mention, we do have a special guest, and so while we do oftentimes kind of talk about updates in our own lives, because again, Jeep Life is about all things related to rugged individualism, DIY, and in general, the aspects of our niche market, that freedom that the vehicle represents to us. We good there, Jeffrey?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just making sure that the guest is ready to go when we're ready.
Perfect. And we do want to get to that. As updates are concerned, and I do have to address something that came to my attention this weekend.
Uh-oh.
And it is partially Jeep related, and it is partially
Don't let that stop you.
well, right, and it is partially fashion related.
Oh, that's not me.
Okay, so here's the thing. I attended a family function for the Savage over the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I got to say, it's one of the things that I appreciate the most about SFJ 4x4 is the nature of our involvement with each other.
Yeah. Once you're in, you're in.
Once you're in, you're in. I just understand that it is really what it is, folks.
Yeah.
I have I've been places, seen things, known people, done.
Yeah.
You know, we've
Our kids all refer to each other as uncle and aunt.
yes.
It just is what it is.
And I'll say this, and it'll be a little tongue-in-cheek and a little bit truth. I've buried pets. I've buried family members. I've been at births. I've prayed
Yes.
over people.
Yes.
We've rushed to emergency rooms. We've run the gamut.
Oh,
We've
yeah.
celebrated the good, the bad, and everything in between as a family that provides for, as a business that provides for the greater community. So I go to a family celebration for the Savage, and I appreciate the invitation to be part of his sister's graduation party. And on the way there, I recently got a fresh pair of sandals my wife bought me for Father's Day, right? And so they're, what we call
Did you lose one?
so they're called slides, right? So they're not the toe where your toe fits through
While using the foot
thong.
peg.
Yes.
So while using the foot peg,
Yeah, there it is.
while using the foot
Why do we
peg,
know you
This is
so
why
well?
we only allow to have an automatic.
as I'm driving Chuck, I'm ripping. So my daughter was the most beautiful little date with me. We both were ripping down some back roads, and I had the sandal on, and I went to pull my foot back in the Jeep for a brief moment.
And
I couldn't.
there it is.
And it was the first time that I have lost a sandal while driving a topless Jeep. And believe me, I've lost cell phones out the
Outfitting.
vehicle, wallets, hats. I've done the whole. If it could fall out of a Jeep, reasonably it has. But this was the first time that I lost a sandal, and I did manage to go back and get it.
Oh,
right.
then that doesn't
So I
count.
did not show up to the Savages family function
Barefoot.
barefoot, right?
Because at that point you have to commit. You
It's
just got
full commit.
full commit.
Full commit. But here's the question, right? Here's the question that I posed to my wife. And I think it's incredibly fitting because those who are on the back end, people who have already stopped into our facility today, which has been a couple, the Savage is here. He is literally wearing slides. He's sick. And so as a trooper, he came in sick. He's under the weather because usually we have closed-toe
We
shoes
should
on.
make him wear a mask.
We should have, right? So he doesn't
Yeah.
infect us with his
Yes.
head cold. He's wearing his slides with socks.
That's
With
not okay.
socks, they're champion slides with champion
So-
socks, and he looks fresh as all
he
get
does it
out.
with Crocs too.
I know he does.
With
Okay,
socks.
first of all, nobody should ever wear Crocs a day in their whole entire life, and I don't care who I
That's
heard in that
shots fired.
statement. Crocs are the worst thing that ever happened
They're great
to
for running out
toxic
in the
masculinity.
Right for running out in the driveway and you got your shoes off.
You
for
know what?
2 seconds.
I disagree wholeheartdly with anything you could possibly say to me about
I'm
Crocs.
with him, but Morgan really likes his Crocs that he has for
Crocs
going
are
into
fine for children.
for children
I'll say it for children.
because he goes into the water with them and stuff, so they're kind of
Yeah.
a water shoe for him.
So
But
something
that's-
else
So
I've
slides with socks, yes or no? Right?
No.
Is this the look? I went
The
to this.
answer's
I
no.
went to this function. There is 100 bajillion people at this function. There is a bunch of young men and women
Hipsters.
looking freshy fresh. He just said hipsters. Okay, I promise you these were not hipsters. They were looking freshy fresh, and I swear I was the only person who was appropriately barefoot in my sandals.
So
So,
something else I've noticed.
Is it just because we lived through the
while
90s?
we're trashing the Savage?
Okay. It's not trashing. I think it's a good look.
Hold on,
I think it's a good look.
Justin just said maybe Crocs in a public shower is okay. I'm going to give him that one.
I
I'm going
could
to
see
give him
that.
that one. I know you don't
I
want to.
want to feel all of my humans on my bare feet.
no, no.
So I'm going to be
No.
barefoot in a public shower.
I'm going to give him that one just because of the fact that there is all the warnings that says not to go
So this is,
barefoot into the public shower.
No
this
doubt.
is another
No doubt.
shot at that. Gotta have the tie-in. My wife is always on me. No white socks with shorts.
I'm with
Davey
you.
has no figs.
he
So
But they're
I'm
champion
rocking the
socks.
white socks with shorts because of Davey.
Okay, well here's your problem: is you have white socks and black shoes on. That is totally a no-no.
Is that what the problem is?
That and then the fact that you have long socks on.
Shh.
Long
They're
socks are
rolled over. You can't tell.
That's the problem.
Are they all the way up to your knee? Do you have knee socks on?
No, I'm not my dad.
You have
My dad had the socks
knee
all the way up here.
compression socks?
Oh, no.
Are you that old?
No, they're whatever mid-rise socks.
Did you get your white New Balance
So
yet?
that's what I have to do then, to wear the white socks at the
Yes.
White
New
socks,
Balance.
white New Balances,
Yeah.
with a couple grass stains, just a couple bare grass.
Make sure you
stains
get
on
a couple stripes on the white socks, though, like the blue or red
So the question
stripes.
is that what we're doing in fashion right now? Is it black socks or white socks with your slides? I mean, his white socks have the nice champion logo with the champion sandal. I think it looks good, but
Just-
my wife told me I can't do it.
Justin wants to know if you have compression socks on.
No.
I think he does.
Yeah, I
I
think
think he
not,
does.
not
Justin.
quite there yet.
Real
Preparing
quick,
for the future.
All right.
we got a birthday to celebrate. Joe said Linda's birthday today,
Oh,
so happy
hey!
birthday.
I
Linda.
think Neil has a sing to her.
Happy birthday to you, 4xEs. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Linda.
Oh,
Happy birthday from SFJ 4x4.
and now she's sorry.
All right, you know what? We got to do something. Does anybody else have a good update? I feel like we didn't
I
come to a
stand it on the
consensus.
floor.
Congratulations.
That doesn't sound fun.
My wife told me
I
that.
cleaned a camper with a toothbrush almost. The entire thing almost.
No.
I didn't work on my house at all, but my wife told me that the garden, if I'm smart, the garden is an extension of our house. And I was like, yes, ma'am.
100%.
Okay.
So my fun update was we took the kids to the drive-in theater and saw Elemental and the new Indiana Jones movie. So that was fun.
Was it good?
It was very good.
Excellent.
I was the only one that stayed awake for Indiana Jones, but
I told you that was going to happen.
honestly, Xander watched the first half of it. I was impressed.
Oh,
nice.
He's a
watched.
trooper.
Yeah, he was excited to watch it. I think he liked it better than Elemental, to be honest. But all the kids loved Elemental. It was a good movie. And then Indiana Jones, of course, they made up for the Crystal Skull mistake.
Yes, I'm with
They
you.
had
That's
to.
that they had to. That was
Yeah.
Shiloh LaBeouf.
Oh yeah.
And
I
so
see Sinatra's left the building, Neil. So
Yeah.
and then Harley is coming back home to SFJ soon.
yeah, we'll see what that's about.
Yeah.
So that's from Darla.
As far as Jeffrey, how did you take the Jeep first of all?
Yeah, that's actually.
It's
So
the
if you
only
notice when you
option.
pulled in, I had the Conestoga wagon back on the back. I'm talking like Scott now. I had the cover on the back
Just
again.
want to make sure we all take a moment
I
to.
only wish
to-
it was white because it would be more accurate.
It
Right,
would
the
be.
Conestoga
So
wagon on the
what
back
we
of
did was
his
we
JT.
actually put 2 twin mattresses in the back, a bunch of blankets,
So
pillows,
it's a camper
and
now.
yes, and then we pulled off the back panel of the soft top and rolled up one side for fresh air, but left the top on.
Okay.
And it was actually a really nice, kind of quiet environment. I had
It was
a
a
big,
nice night for
I had a
it.
big radio, of course, that I set up out there.
Of course.
I'd be
and-
disappointed if not.
Right.
It worked really well. It was funny. We had 3 trucks next to us, and they all did the same thing with air mattresses or whatever.
How
so,
cool.
Center.
How cool.
So
So the last piece did you back in then? Is that what
Yes.
you're
oh,
saying?
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the piece that I wasn't exactly
I mean,
sure.
Scott and his family joined us last year, and his kids joined us in the truck bed while
Yeah.
him and
I
his
was by
wife
myself after
got
a
nice
while.
and cozy in the back.
Oh, Scott didn't join you in the back of the truck bed?
No.
Okay.
No,
All right.
It was me, Kristen, and 5
To-
kids
Yeah, tons of kids.
Yeah, that's all right.
All the
in
kids.
a
All-
truck in a 5-foot truck bed. Just
Not
put that
really.
out there.
Half-ton thing.
Yeah,
Half-ton thing. He needs an 8-foot truck bed on
He
that.
does.
He does.
maybe we should
Well,
modify.
We could. And you asked about the coffee cup real quick.
Yeah.
I actually reached a point where there was so much sand and dirt in it
Uh-oh.
that I felt like it's still in the Jeep, like floating around. But I thought maybe I'm not going to pour coffee in on the sand and the dirt.
You're getting soft.
I'm
That is soft for you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
It-
You
it-
usually just dump it out and
just
fill
dump it.
back
I
up.
did. I blew it out and I did a quick like swipe with my finger because that's the extent of cleaning
And
that
it was
my
like- and
coffee
it was
cups
like,
ever get.
"Ugh."
And it was so sandy and gritty from being at the beach recently. I thought I might want to run some water through this before I just drink
It's gotten bad enough. He's gonna clean it.
coffee grinds. Yeah. All right. I just caught it on camera and I thought, well, we should. You asked me about it, so I should address it. Okay.
Do you think we should start bringing Mark on?
I think it's time. Unless there's anything particularly impactful, I'd like to
No.
bring. If you're
I can talk about my
listening to us,
sanding more.
well, I want to hear about your sanding because it's so thrilling. But Mark from Wrangler Fix, if you've been exposed to us much recently, we've actually done quite a few computer ECU jobs,
Yep.
parasitic draws when it comes to when it comes to the Jeep electrical system. Our newer vehicles, even though TJs are just a hair off of historic, we're seeing more and more vehicles from the 90s through now having ECU failure.
And even some from the mid 90s.
Even some, yeah. And, to this individual's credit, he has created a business dedicated to Jeep computer repair.
Yes.
Yep.
And he has been critical in our pursuits over the last few years. So joining us today remotely from Florida will be Mark.
You're going to lose your privilege to touch your mic here soon.
I feel like
It's like his new fidget toy.
Right? You talked about me touching stuff.
At least he has a mic that's not picking up all the noise like you had before.
You know what the thing is,
Shots
when we
fired.
did the American Hustle podcast, I was sitting over there. I could see my monitor appropriately. Now I'm just looking at
Into the abyss.
of the
restoration
CJ,
corner.
into the restoration corner.
So do I need
It's-
to get another monitor?
Yes, we've talked about this.
We gotta build a wall.
All
so
right.
That we're not
Should
looking.
we go to talk to Mark, or are we
Yeah,
just
I'll
gonna...
bring Mark on.
All right, here we go.
Let's see if he's. Are you there, Mark?
I'm right here.
There he is. Good
Trying to
morning.
bring you a
Good
little
morning,
bigger.
gentlemen, from
We're
the
gonna
freest state in the union.
The greatest state in the union. Mark,
With
where
Wyatt
are
Earp
you?
For governor, by the way.
Okay. Where are you? What town are you in?
I am in Davie, Florida, Broward County. Perhaps you've heard of us.
No.
Broward, Broward County, so left it makes Chaz look conservative. Give us enough time, we will make international news, I promise.
Oh my. Not familiar. I do. I've been recently educated on how the villages operate and the extent of their of their geopolitical standing. How far are you from there?
I'm about 20 years away from the villages.
Okay. You personally are then. Okay. That
Yes.
makes sense. That
Um,
makes sense.
The villages are about less than 200 miles up the road, and Viagra is commonplace from what I understand.
It's a market share in that area, to say the least.
Yes,
So-
absolutely. But getting back to Broward real quick, the 9/11 hijackers, the 2000 hanging chads, the opioid pandemic, Parkland, all Broward County.
Oh wow.
Oh,
Yeah, that's
So
quite
you're
the
part of it.
association for somebody, up here in the Great Lakes, the Midwest, to understand that they're all kind of out of a particular hot seat. I did not recognize the association, to say
Yes.
the least.
How is everything in beautiful Ashtabula County? You guys are nowhere near the train, are you?
Well, we were an hour and a half, hour 45 minutes, I think. And it is spectacular. More so, we're dealing with the Canadian smoke,
The wildfires.
which has
Right.
been plaguing the northeast of the United States, which is fascinating situation in of itself, because we're not. Folks who are from the West Coast and the Pacific Northwest and across some of the Canadian areas who are used to massive wildfires. That is not our cup of tea. So dealing with that, but otherwise, spectacular weather for the 4th, and we're beautiful right along the beautiful beaches of the Great Lakes. So no
Excellent.
complaints.
Excellent.
So Jeffrey has some prepared talking points
Yeah.
and information.
So first off, Mark, we just want to hear your story in 5 minutes. Who are you? What are you about?
Okay. Well, Wrangler Fix started after I was told that I'm an idiot for my get out of here with your dumb ideas before I fire you. The company that I worked for in prior, I was for over a year tried to give them an idea about the idea of the 0506 TJs. If we solve it, we could really become a hit in the Wrangler community. And like I said, I was told I was an idiot.
Did you have a Jeep at that time?
I did not.
Okay, so it was something that you were able to look through the matrix out there. Is that correct? Like
Yes,
you were able
the
to
Matrix
see
is real,
something.
by the way.
The Matrix. Okay, so you were able to look out into the world, into the community, and say, "Hey, we can solve this, and we'll have
Yeah,
a
we see
significant
this
market
problem."
share." Is that right?
Right. Yeah. When I noticed it was I would get calls. The calls were constantly coming in. It's a big company, and we never had an answer when someone called in with an 0506 TJ. And my first question is why? Why
Interesting.
can't we fix this? And I sent a lot of these. This is an 0506 automatic, and I don't know how well you can see, but you can see when it goes, its fail rate is 100% and there is no repairing it. So what we did was figured out another Chrysler component to modify and make work. And literally, I took to social media. I found a guy who did a video on the problem, but not the solution because there wasn't one.
Interesting.
So when we figured it out, I reached out to him. I said, hey, can we send you a computer if you do a video for us? And that video gave us internet credibility. And over 4 years later, we've turned into a global company that can get parts anywhere in the world tomorrow.
Sure. And you were working when you say you were at this other business. It was also an ECM PCM type of repair rebuild. Is that correct?
Yes. They specialize in Cummins, Power Stroke, and Duramax, the diesel industry, and
okay.
We still do quite a bit of business in that regard. The 05, 06 TJs put us on the map. But if you ever owned a Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, 37, 47, Hemi, Hellcat, or Cummins, and not change the computer, you just haven't owned it long enough.
Yeah, you're spot on. The Chrysler computer is kind of an interesting animal in of itself, right?
Yes.
And I know that from years ago when I think you and I had a conversation probably 3+ years ago. You were pretty green in the process yourself, and I just remember having a quick call around because, all too often I feel like blaming, quote unquote, blaming the ECM PCM is a backyard mechanics scapegoat, right? It's an easy way for them to be like, oh, well, it's the ECM PCM.
I don't understand it, so it's this.
I don't understand it, so it's this. And then they change it and it's still not correct. They never actually get to the diagnostic of the the draw or the malfunction in the Jeep.
And the worst part is they don't even know how to fix that. It's been, basically that's the scapegoat. Well, you can't prove it's that, and you can't disprove that I'm wrong.
Right. So as a backyard mechanic, it's an easy scapegoat to say, hey, you can't prove I'm wrong.
Yeah, I'm
but,
tapping out.
So I called Mark years ago, kind of stumbled across, because to that point, I was really uncomfortable with ECM PCM replacement.
Yes.
And I am using ECM and PCM and interchangeable, and maybe Mark may elaborate on the acronyms here in a second, but I'm using them interchangeably because to that point I was really I did not endeavor into that lightly, because that was a big chunk of change for our customers, and I wanted to be sure beyond a shadow of a doubt. Additionally, there was a time period where it was honestly eBay. So you could either go to, your local box store provider to buy a replacement computer for your vehicle, and it was an egregious amount of money, or you ended up on eBay and they were more affordable, but the reviews were wild. They were all over the place.
Yeah.
That's where I stumbled upon Mark, and I was really looking for a reputable human being on the other end of the phone.
Yep.
Versus just kind of a nameless, faceless eBay store or auto parts store that had, a million reviews, some of them good, some of them terrible.
Well, one of the cool things from my point of view is we can send something out to them and they can say, yes, this is actually bad.
Yes.
And they can actually diagnose it. So it's not I'm changing this magic box with this new magic box, and I have my fingers crossed, and hey, it didn't actually do what I thought it was going to do, or now I have this new problem.
I have a new problem.
And now what does that mean?
They actually have the niche experience. Hey, they're just like we only touch Jeeps, they only touch computers.
Yes. Well, and I think with you, Mark, specifically, what I enjoy, because we talk a lot on the phone, is the fact that I can call you and say, hey, this Jeep's doing this. These are the diagnostic steps we've taken. Is this an issue that you've had with these types of computers? And you always know, oh, yeah, that's actually common for this to happen. Or, no, that's not. That's probably something else.
Or they give you the code number before you read it off.
Yeah. You did that to me the one time. You're like, oh, you got this code. Yeah, I do.
It comes with repetition, and I've been saddled with a memory that doesn't forget too much.
Excellent.
So
that helps.
As it comes in, it just comes out.
Yeah, absolutely. It builds in process, and we can see that as a specialty provider ourselves and recognize and recognize it in someone
Yeah,
else
we
in
can
someone
tell
else's
pretty
process.
fast.
Right. That's the
Right.
thing. I've called, of years of doing this professionally, I've called other organizations and I talk to somebody and they're just reading off of a note sheet. And
Yeah.
you might get a computer that makes, that is good. You might get a computer that causes more
Yeah,
problems.
Let me click on my screen to follow through this
Yes.
triage.
Yes, follow that triage report.
Yeah.
And so far, Wrangler Fix has been fantastic in our relationship with you guys.
So,
Yes, sir.
real quick, do you want to elaborate on the PCM, ECM? What the
Sure.
differences are?
Yeah, there's so many different little acronyms: ECU, ECM, TCM, PCM, and it just depends on what era you want to go to. The ECU, engine control unit, engine control module, the ECM, and in '05 was the first year that Jeep took engine and transmission computer and smacked it together with that NGC, the 4-plug connectors, to form PCM. So it's been called everything, PMC, brain, you name it, it's been called it.
Yeah.
But it's just an acronym of, depending on what era Jeep you have, it's called an ECU or ECM. But that's basically where all that comes from.
I appreciate you're breaking it down for our listeners, because I know that people have commented on some of my YouTube videos before, regarding of what their
Depends on what their background is.
what their background is.
Yeah.
And so it's
Right.
interesting to hear from your perspective and your professional experience to say, hey, here's the era and here's the computer. Of course, does it matter for you what people call it when they call into you?
No, your make and model. And, I know when they say it's a 95 YJ, I know it's an SPEC computer, a single board electronic controller. And that's it. It's about as basic as gravy and biscuits, in that you're very simple, 3 caps and a voltage regulator. But if you don't know what you're doing, the caps can go in one way. And if you go in the other way, you're going to blow the computer up. So,
Yeah, it's one of those things best left to professionals.
Yeah.
we rebuild them, we test them. I have a tech here that either we test them in our Jeeps or we run them on our simulator, which if it runs in our Jeeps or on our simulator, it's going to run in your Jeep.
Yes.
So, on average, how many computers do you think you fix a week?
In repairs, we're over 100 computers a week.
Wow.
Yeah, we've been blessed, really, and it's shows like this. It's taking things like this that have reached us to a level where, when I started this company, I would never have thought.
Sure.
And we've been blessed to sell computers all over the world and help people with their individual stories and individual problems. And like I said, we're very grateful for each and every one of you.
So,
doubt.
with that many computers, what do you think is the most common issue that you see?
Well, it depends on the era of the
Okay.
vehicle. On the YJs, like I said, they're very simple. You got to know what you're doing, know where to check for cold solder, besides the 3 capacitors and other little tricks that you pick up over the time. The main issue with the TJ computers is where it's mounted, on the battery, behind the firewall, next to that hot inline 6. What could possibly go wrong? Putting that computer in that spot is about the equivalent of sticking some Orville Redenbachers in the microwave, pressing start, and wondering what the hell's going to happen.
We're probably going to add that one to our repertoire talking points. I'll be honest with you, Mark. You might have just created something for
That needs to
us.
be on a shirt.
That'll be on a shirt, before
awesome.
sooner than later. That's fantastic. Liz, that's. I mean, the thing is that as we get to this point, we had an opportunity back in 2014. We met by happenstance a phenomenal engineer, retired from Jeep Corporate Chrysler, the mothership himself, and he had just freshly retired. And he was talking about, of course, it's 2014. And he was talking about the JK platform up until that point, so 7 to 11. And I know that you just did a computer repair for us for that era of Jeep. And I believe that individual is actually a listener of ours as well. And and so this we go back to this the mothership engineer, and he said the business that learns this era of wiring and the malfunctions that will come with it will be the emergent leader in the industry for the next 20 years.
Yep.
They're producing so many of that, starting with the 5.6, right, of the TJ era ending, and the electronic issues that they were having through that 7 to 11 JK, and the less than quality wire, the thinning insulation, the computer placement, the computer integration. He was saying, like, hey, whoever learns these processes will be the next most successful businesses. And I have always taken that to heart. And clearly,
It's a very challenging market to be in.
it's an exceedingly challenging market to be in, but obviously here we both are, us from the physical application and the servicing and the draws, the tip-em issues, to you on the actual computer stuff. And what I'm always trying to tell people is every day people are buying desktop and laptop and tablet computers, and every day they're glitching and malfunctioning, and the computer's dying or whatever. Now we take that same technology and we shove it into a hot, thermically subjective
then we
vehicle.
drag it over a trail.
Then we drag it over a trail. we go further, and we
Yeah.
take it down to the beach with the salt spray and the ocean water, and
Yes.
through a mud crossing. What could go wrong?
Yeah, it's fine.
Orville Redenbacher's in the microwave.
Just
Wonderful.
give me credit on that, please.
Oh, no
absolutely.
doubt. No doubt.
So I just got to ask, because it's a fun question, and we all have our opinions on which are the best and the worst Jeeps. What would you say is the worst Jeep?
Well,
Wow, did you give him time to you
yeah,
just put
no,
him on the
I
spot?
I thought about this question earlier before we even connected, and the worst Jeep. I don't think there is such a thing, but the
I do.
worst
That's
Jeep,
a broken
I-
one. That's the worst one. Doesn't matter what it is. If it's broken, it sucks.
the worst Jeep, right? It used to be the 0506 TJ until we figured it out. No one wanted them because they were flower pots.
Nice.
And they stayed away from them because of the PCM, the oil pump drive assembly, and that were the main things. Crown fixed the OPDA issue,
Yep.
and we fixed the PCM issue, and now they're regarded as the most collectible last 2 years of the Wranglers out there.
They were excellent vehicles.
At this very moment, I have the first year of the 3.6 Pentastar 2012, and that thing is a nightmare from
electrical standpoint.
electrical.
Yes.
PCM was on national back order last year. We've since rectified that. Transmission cooler, or the oil cooler, was another one that was, you stay away from the head on that particular.
Yeah, that year.
Yep.
Yeah, it's they had something get in the casting
Yeah.
that screwed the engine up, and there's all kinds. But that right there, and 2010 is not the best year either. It's year specific. Although we found other parts that will work, 10 is in its own year, and the JK years 7 through 11 all have that same circuit that fails.
Yeah.
The charging circuit, and it's actually physically on the board. So we have the technology to remove that, replace it, and that's the most common failures on 7 through 11 JKs.
That's awesome.
Interesting.
So best Jeep or favorite Jeep?
I mean, my favorite Jeep are the 0506 TJs. Hey, look at Jesus' belly, man.
Feed that belly. So you know what? And when it comes to the worst vehicles, do you have experience with the '87 Wrangler?
Do I?
He's running off camera.
Oh, he's running off camera for those who are listening to us at a later date.
I think he's got more experience than you were ready for.
Oh, I was not ready for that.
No, we got them.
We heard that their computers are French. Is that true?
Bonjour, je m'appelle.
I'm gonna have to do accents here if we go much further.
Yeah, I was
gonna
told
have
that
to-
over the weekend. I said, I see you, AMC mothership.
Yes. Renault. Renault was
yes.
controlling.
Yes.
Yes, we had a customer bring in an 88 just recently. Now, first of all, when asked what's the worst vehicle ever produced, I will quickly and succinctly say 1987 Wrangler is.
Yeah, we used to be able to say sevens. Don't buy a
sevens.
seven.
Don't buy 87, 97, and 07. Darla, I know that you
I'm
heard
sorry.
me, and I'm sorry, but that's the reality of the situation.
He was so happy that Mark didn't say
Yeah, he was
97.
happy
And
that
now
Mark
that-
didn't
now
say
that
it.
you said it.
But here I am to rain on your parade.
We can
sort
fix
of.
it,
I
though.
apologize.
We know the matrix on
we
that
have
one.
the tools.
Yes.
But of course, then the mothership had to screw us up and go to 18, right?
Yes.
And 18.
We had a cool thing going.
We had a cool thing going, and then they switched us out by a year.
Yeah.
But the whole 87, for the Wrangler specifically, of course, the XJ at that point was a Renix ignition
Yes.
and a slightly different computer control. AMC was doing just super cattywampus things with the Wrangler platform.
Yep.
But it's so cool to see that you actually
Not just have it. It was off camera.
it was
like
just
there.
off camera. Let me go grab this computer.
Totally unscripted, by the way. That was
Yes.
awesome.
Is that a customer or is that some for research and diagnosis?
No, it's
Research and
it's
development.
something that we keep on the shelves.
Okay.
As you guys have seen, I've sent you a little.
Great
behind
walk
the
around.
scenes.
Yeah, great walk around that we'll post on our social here soon.
It's something that we that we pride ourselves on is having the parts and having the resources to keep these Jeeps on the road.
I see.
100%.
I see.
So-
I'm curious that years ago when we were selling used parts, I was working at a show out in just outside of Carlisle, Pennsylvania, out in York, not quite to Philadelphia, and somebody came through and bought every computer we had. I was at a fire sale, and so we let every computer go for pennies on the dollar. That didn't happen to be you or somebody else, was it? I mean, not
Well,
not related
obviously
to
it
you.
was someone else, but it wasn't me.
Yeah, that was
but
2018, so right before you.
Yeah. We've continued to grow and grow. And we deal with some of the biggest wrecking yards in the world, actually.
Sure.
And they, we get all the parts that we need for future business. We keep reinvesting into because Jeeps aren't going to go anywhere.
No,
No,
they're not.
No, and it's a dedicated community to say the least.
Oh, yeah. And, go
I
ahead.
didn't realize it at the time, but it's like I equate it to either like a Harley,
Mhm.
a Harley club, or like either Grateful Dead, or like it's almost like a following.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It is. I see
You
you're
know,
working
and-
really hard not to call it a cult, but we understand.
Yeah.
Hey, you're working really hard not to use the word cult, but
Drink it's
the
a cult-like
Kool-Aid,
following.
Drink the Kool-Aid.
drink. Yeah. I walked into the bank the other day, and we do a lot of banking and transactions, and our she's not exactly the bank president, but she's like, she joined the cult. They're like, oh, how's the Jeep cult going? I'm like,
It's fine.
it's fine. We're okay. We like to use the word family, but
It's a little less aggressive.
well, online are some of our listeners have already
They're
produced the word-
chiming, saying
chiming in
cult.
cult as well. So it's a
So,
loving cult. Is that
Yeah.
is that worth
It
anything?
is.
and since you're part of the Jeep cult, I'm sure you have some sort of crazy or weird Jeep story. What's yours?
Boy, there's quite a few.
I hope it
Yeah.
doesn't involve
There's
the
always-
villages. That's what I'm saying.
Maybe I shouldn't have asked this question.
I was going to say,
Yeah,
wait a
now that
second.
we know about Broward County,
Broward County and 200 miles south of the villages. I don't know. We want to have this conversation.
I really to say there's one story that just takes over the rest of them. It's kind of a hard question to answer because I don't think there's anything. It just depends on your idea of crazy. My idea of crazy and your idea of crazy are
well, I mean, it's got to be pretty crazy for me or Neil to think it's crazy, but anything with adrenaline and Scott thinks it's
What
crazy.
if we twist it? And what's your best Jeep memory?
Oh, there you go.
What's that?
here's the question. Here, let me kind of rephrase possibly. Did you have a Jeep prior to Wrangler Fix? Obviously, you were working for a large
Yeah, you knew about the
computer.
computers. He stayed away.
Right? Yeah, he knew about. He said, "I see you, Chrysler mothership, and I want nothing to do with your
Yes.
jank products." All right, so you didn't have a Jeep, and you're doing your work, and you saw a problem, and you sought to solve it, which I love. I think that's just fantastic, and you're desperately trying to get somebody to pay attention to you, which is just, necessity is the mother of all invention, and so you saw a need, and you knew how you could at least work towards solving a problem. So then you get into these Jeep computers. What is the first Jeep you purchase?
I purchased an 06 with the 42 RLE in it. And I
Okay, so
purchased-
a Wrangler then? So you
Yes.
didn't have a Grand or a standard Cherokee or anything like that. Some people oftentimes, like Jeffrey, dabbled his toes into that
I feel like I
four-letter
just got
word.
called out.
He
He
dabbled
did.
his toes into a four-letter word with a Grand Cherokee.
Yep.
Prior to getting into other platforms. So you
Yeah,
had no Jeep product prior to. Is that correct?
I had a 99 WJ with the first year of the
There it is.
4.7
I knew you did, Mark. I knew you did. Remember how you were talking about being blessed with the gift of a brain, of an elephant? Man, I got you. We talked like 3-4 years ago. I knew what you had. I knew what you had. I knew that you had that WJ back there.
Everybody's got a WJ back.
I
in the
did,
background.
and the front of it is like an accordion now because I was looking at my phone and not realizing that the car in front of me had stopped.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
Yeah, that was bad.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully everybody walked away. That's what matters, right?
Yes, we're good.
That's good. And the WJ, probably kept you safe in the process. So that's a pretty crazy Jeep story. I just want you to know that you accordioned a WJ. That's pretty
Yeah.
crazy by most people's standards.
The craziest. There's plenty of. Everyone's got a story, and I don't want to. Anyway, there are no crazy stories that I feel like they're not at this time.
That's fine.
But I'm working on it.
That's
That's what
excellent.
matters.
Excellent. And so, okay,
I'm
so we go
working on
that
it hard.
you buy the 06 TJ. Is it a TJ or is it a TJ Unlimited or LJ? Do you buy it?
That is a regular TJ.
Okay, so you buy a TJ automatic. Oh, you said 42 RLE. That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. And so for folks who are listening, obviously
That means it's an automatic.
means it's an automatic.
Yep.
And the manual transmission is actually a Mercedes 6B that would have been available at that time.
Yep.
Kind of an interesting talking point for folks. There was actually no manual transmission available in 04 in a six-cylinder Jeep. You only had automatics, I believe.
No, that was just on unlimited.
Unlimiteds,
Yeah.
correct. You
Yeah,
only had
regular
the 42
TJ,
RLE.
You could have a 5-speed.
You had a 5-speed still. You had the 3550.
But even more interesting is in 403, we didn't have an overdrive automatic option
right.
in a Wrangler.
That's
which is
right.
crazy.
We had 3-speed, basically.
Most
It was a
people
3-speed
were out of
automatic.
that in like 1982.
Well, Chrysler, we like to take our time based on the
Yes.
fact that we're going
Slow
over
and
rocks.
steady.
Slow and steady.
Yeah,
at the-
that's scary technology.
Yes.
Until we get to the new ones and they just rip the Band-Aid off and they're just
Oh,
pack
man.
as much technology in
Dude,
as possible.
2024 Jeep, which I actually kind of want to hear Mark's take on later on, possibly. But anyway, so you had the 06. Was there? Do you have more to your collection now? I believe.
Oh, I think we got a few. I'm going to try to get up here and see if I can't switch this camera around.
So for our listeners, he's kind of panning his camera.
Well, he
Right now-
disappeared.
He disappeared. He panned so
And gone.
well he became invisible. Jeffrey's going to work. Oh,
There
there,
it
he is.
He's not back on our screen. There he is. I don't know why it disappeared
Hold
from
on
our
a
screen.
There we go.
Let's see if I can do this. I can't do it, but across the street, you can see across there, if you can.
Okay.
We
We're
got
looking
five-
out across a
five
nice
different-
parking lot.
Looks like a
yeah,
lot of
5
Jeep
different,
shapes.
We've got 7 different Jeeps, actually, that we test these computers in.
Nice.
Everyone
nice.
should have at least 7 Jeeps.
Everybody should have at least 7 Jeeps. Goes back to
Yes.
that conversation for our Patreons and
Yeah.
Discord the other night.
If your wife doesn't say, "Is that yours or your friend's?" You're not doing something right.
You're not doing enough. And dogs, I heard, on our Patreons were saying dogs and Jeeps.
Yeah, oh yeah.
You can't have enough of.
Yeah.
So you have quite a few under your belt in a very short period of time. Out of the ones that you have, and obviously those are all test mules, or largely many of them are test mules. Do you have a favorite? He's talking to us.
We lost audio.
He's talking to us. I can hear him. Or I can see his mouth. And Jeffrey is.
Mark, did you by chance mute
Mark,
yourself?
did you mute yourself?
There
There
it
he
is.
is.
Yep.
Okay. So yes, I do have a favorite. I love driving the TJ. I drive the '06 automatic every day, and I use it for testing computers. If we have any issues with the customer's computer, that's an intermittent problem, I'll throw it in the Jeep and drive it around for the weekend to see.
That's cool.
To see what's going on with the computer.
Yes.
And yeah, we did grow very quickly because of things like this, because of our reputation. We don't lie, cheat, or steal, and it's important to know who you're dealing with.
Sure.
We don't sell you a computer just to sell you a computer. We ask questions. We ask for the diagnostic trouble codes because, like we said earlier, it's very simple to just say it's a PCM, throw another part at it and hope that it solves the problem.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
And
So
that we don't do.
If customers wanted to order a computer from you, obviously they can order it right through us, but how would they go about reaching you directly if they needed to?
Okay, we're online, wranglerfix.com, and you can get in touch with us either by email, mark@wranglerfix.com, social media, we're on all YouTube and Facebook and Instagram and all the others. We're working diligently on that to improve in that regard. And just pick up the phone and call us. We're here. We don't use bots. We don't use voicemails. We answer the phones. And like I said, it's important to know that our level of customer service is unmatched in the industry, and we continue to grow and improve in that regard.
Do you want to? Well,
go
hold
ahead.
on a second. I want to touch on that customer service in the industry again. Again, the unique thing that Scott and I bring to the table in automotive specifically is we're individuals who are either too dumb to give up or too passionate to quit.
Yeah.
And and so we've seen the ebb and flow, the rise and fall of a lot of different businesses. And so in the process of discovering you and your company as a relative startup, I had this experience with these computers and eBay computers and, people getting them from box stores and not fixing the problem and blah, blah, blah. So recently, for our listeners, we were doing the diagnostic on an 05 TJ. Our team, as far as I'm concerned, did a spectacular, thorough diagnostic. The Jeep was actually sold with O2 sensor codes and unable to pass local emissions ordinance and inspection issues. And our team did a fantastic job ensuring that there was no other issues associated with the Jeep. The wiring was good. The O2 sensors were appropriate. The continuity of the wires were where and how they needed to be. And we went ahead and we contacted Mark, and he said, hey, it sounds like you guys have done a thorough diagnostic. Let's get you a computer moving. And the computer showed up in an appropriate amount of time for whatever ground shipping is from you guys to us. First of all, it went out in a timely manner. We received it in an appropriate manner. And we're talking about in post-COVID times, folks, right? Where, the whole system seems to be a little cattywampus.
Yes.
And we got the product. We do the install, and something wasn't right. Jeffrey, do you remember what that was?
There was another code that came up.
A weird code
It was
came
a
up
temp
and-
sensor.
Temp sensor
Battery
co-
temp sensor.
Battery temp sensor. So this is when Jeffrey reaches back out to Mark, doing our parts logistics piece, reaches back out to Mark and says, hey, we put the computer in and we got this other code. And I think that's when Mark rattles off this blah, 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 blah. And Jeff was like, yeah. And he's like, and Mark goes, oh, I should have said, asked you, I should have, front loaded you, whatever it was. Sometimes we have this, sometimes we don't. I promise you, folks, he shipped out another computer, overnighted it. It literally showed up, the next working day, and we got it appropriately installed into the customer's vehicle, 100% seamless in its process.
Absolutely.
And you talk about customer service, understanding the problem and the role that you fill as us as a professional service facility, our ability to respond timely to our customers, who you are as our listener, our customers. You want your Jeep out as best possible, but you also want it done right.
Yeah.
And these are the types of people we're looking to expand and network with in the
Not
process.
only that, it's a huge confidence booster when you have this other issue, and so many people go, "Oh, I don't know what's going on. So sorry." When you say, "Oh, yes, I actually know exactly what you're talking about, and this is how we rectify it,"
Yes.
I for a moment was like, "Wow, this is how it feels to be on the other side of the counter."
Right.
for FJ.
It's how we respond to our customers.
Yes.
It's exactly what
Yeah.
Mark did for us and our customer.
We have a saying: the best thing you can do is believe your customer.
Correct.
Even though it's not acting a fool for you,
Right.
because they experienced what they experienced.
Yes, and then for us as a professional to say, "Hey, I see you, and I want to help solve this issue," and that's
Yes.
exactly what you guys did for us, and that was a couple computers ago
Yeah.
at this point.
Yeah.
Yes. We earn our reputation one PCM, one computer at a time.
Amen to that.
Yep.
And, you know,
Word
like
of
I
mouth
said,
sells too.
the customer service and standing behind your product is the utmost priority.
Yep, that
for us.
integrity of your approach, the integrity of your process is king in this industry.
Now,
You're only as good as your last interaction and your last customer review. That keeps us humble, grounded, and not too big. We don't get too big for our britches.
Sure thing.
Yep.
Now, one of the things in business specifically, we always talk about competition as a good thing. Do you have competition in your specific niche market?
Yeah, I do. As a matter of fact, go figure. When companies find out about you and you start having, you start
Get some success.
Gaining some traction.
Right.
If you Google Wrangler Fix, we're not even the first PCM company that shows up.
Oh,
Yeah.
geez.
Yep.
So, some of these creative marketing companies, with over 400 billion parts in stock, we're going to make sure you get the one that you want right out of Canarsie.
He's so much better at his accent
Oh
than
man, his accent
has
feels
mad accent
intimidating.
game.
He's got a great accent game. For somebody from
Go to
Florida,
Mulberry Street and have a pie,
I'm gonna challenge you to a Minnesotian accent. We'll see.
So I have a quick question.
Yes.
Something I've dealt with, being a nerd that I am. I've got vintage video games, and everybody talks about at some point all video game antique stuff will have cap problems or electronic issues. Are our computers in the Jeeps the same way, where everyone is going to experience this problem at some point as they age?
Yes.
That's kind of what
It goes back to Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep. The electronics are affected by voltage. They're affected by wiring, irregular grounds. It's important to check all powers and grounds. I tell everyone this, the number of calls I've gotten over the years, it starts something like this. "Mark, I was just giving someone a jump and now my Jeep won't start."
Yep. Heard that before.
Yeah. And
We've
The
had it come
regular-
in. We had one that came in on a tow truck. It started up okay before it got towed here. Then it went start, and it was a computer failure.
Mhm.
yeah, irregular spikes in voltage can also activate skim.
Mhm.
So even if they have a black key, which is not a skim key, irregular spikes in voltage, like I said, can actually activate the skim function.
So
of the
for our
computer.
listeners who are unaware,
That's
Scott was
it's-
about to jump on
yeah.
this one as well. We want to make sure that everybody, we're reaching, the novice to the expert. Skim is
Security.
a security measure integrated within the computer itself.
Yep.
And those of you who had a gray chip key starting in the early 2000s, you
Yeah,
literally.
where's my Dub J guys at?
Where's my Dub J? If you're unaware and you're one of our listeners, Dub Js are what the mothership prototyped all of your platforms. If you're driving
Yeah.
a JL, a
It
JK,
started in
a
that
Grand, yeah, you go back and you thank somebody in '99 who's got a WJ because
Yeah,
everything was
their
prototyped.
interior lights not working, and
Yeah,
their
every
seat
little
frame's
piece that
broken.
yes, yes, seat frame or the seat shorted out the Jeep, whatever
Yeah.
it is. Anyways, the skim module is part of the security system itself, and so that's what Mark is referencing in this regard. That a jump start could actually somehow initiate or affect that, is what you're saying.
Yeah. This
Yes,
is-
it doesn't happen often, but we disabled a guy's skim and it lasted for like 6 months, and he calls back and says your skim failed. skim doesn't fail. You can't be a little pregnant. You can't have a little skim. Either you got it or you ain't.
Sure.
And so a couple of questions I asked him. I said, you change the battery or give someone a jump? He says, yeah, that's when it stopped.
Yep.
And just that irregular little spike
Change.
will
Spike in voltage.
Yeah, it can, but it doesn't necessarily have to, but it can happen.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's really valuable with CAN bus. As if you've one of our listeners has consulted with me recently in some capacity or not, or watched some of our YouTube videos, I talk frequently about CAN bus, which is a technology again developed under those Wrangler platforms that you so famously had started your company on, and the shared grounds are so valuable. And I heard you mention that. And that would be what I would say our freebie to our listeners is go out and protect your grounds right now before it becomes more problematic. Go out, pull them apart, clean off any oxidation that might be present, make sure that there's still a good continuity by using, if you have just a wire brush, wire brush it, clean off anything particulate that might be present, and then put a nice dielectric grease or fluid film or something protective coating on there.
We literally just had one that the turn signal would work if the headlights were not on, but you turn the headlights on, the turn signal would stop working, and it was a ground issue.
Sure.
Yeah, just because the ground wasn't cleaned or maintained, and it just corroded away.
And the next one is battery terminals.
Yep.
Always have
So
quality.
important.
All of those important, right? And these are things that if you work the process, right? Because my concern for computers is always the fact that people have overlooked some of these arguably more simple fixes, and then they get a computer and they still have this problem, and now they're blaming the computer. I've seen that for decades.
Yep.
Seen it a lot.
That's right, you would. And how infuriating that must be as a provider who has high integrity to go, I promise you your computer is working. I had it in my Jeep driving around this weekend.
Yeah.
I know that your computer is working.
And that's
there's
one thing.
something else wrong.
For us, we
Right.
don't take computer swaps lightly. We check 90% of everything else first. And
Exactly.
Then, then we have someone we can call and depend on when we do need that.
Yes.
And that's what goes back to having the Jeeps. If it runs in our Jeep, it's going to run in yours.
Yep.
Yes.
And if it's not throwing those codes in our Jeep and it's throwing them in yours, what does that mean?
It's the Jeep.
And you kind and I'm doing it because it's for our so we don't have the issues. And it's we wind up taking videos, sending the customer videos of the computers running. And
Interesting. I was wondering how you handle that on a business level to kind of verify your functionality, right? So it's interesting to hear you say that for some customers, you do have to throw it in your computer or throw the computer in your Jeep, run it, video, be like, here, it's working. You have to go further in your process now.
Right. And we do it in a way, in a helpful way, not in a, fix your Jeep.
Yeah, in a demeaning way
Right.
And sometimes a picture's worth 1,000 words.
In essence, I need one of your grandma's couches over here, like a Wrangler therapy couch for someone to
Dude, just wait. I'm going to ask you a question here in a hot second because we're going to get to therapy couches. But I know Jeffrey had a couple prepared ones, so I want to make sure he gets through what he wants to there.
Mark, since we were talking about your process, the integrity that you take, your customer service level, what's your 30-second elevator pitch? Why should people use your computers?
Well, you know who you're dealing with. We're not some internet parts peddler. We actually have the Jeeps here in our facility that we run and test these things on. And, it comes down to who are you comfortable dealing with? Who is the company that's going to answer your phone calls or answer your emails when you do have a problem?
Yes.
To sit here and say this is all cake and honey and there's never any issues, I would be lying to you.
Right.
But it's how you handle those problems and how you're not just out for the credit card number and the VIN. You're actually out to solve the problem, and so the customer is down the road, and you have another happy customer.
Yes,
100%.
So that is why people should consider buying from Wrangler Fix.
All right. So, you know what? I obviously asked you a lot of questions already. Is there something that you wish that I would have asked that I didn't?
I'm single.
He has Jeeps. He has almost 10 Jeeps, people.
There you go, folks. He's
Oh.
single. He's got
Wow.
almost 10 Jeeps. Obviously, he understands
He's in sunny Florida.
electronics. He's in Florida.
Yeah.
This just became Jeep Tinder.
Yes,
Here we
it
go.
has. There is just
I do not go on any dating apps, so this is all weird to me. If I don't meet someone at Publix or online here, someone that doesn't identify with pronouns, someone that I don't need any of that stuff.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that is. I did not have Jeep Tinder.
I wasn't prepared for that answer.
That was great, Mark.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, that's what's missing in my life is someone that I can spend the rest of my life with that completes me.
Well,
there you
I understand that. That's we can appreciate that as a our nuclear family type business here. I had a question. This is more logistics based as far as the business is concerned. How do you, as a company, handle when an individual calls in and they basically want to consult or go through the diagnostic process with your team? You know what I mean? So to say that they're calling in for free advice.
Sure. We gladly answer their questions, and we start with the codes or symptoms. What year is the Jeep, and what codes or symptoms do you have? 05 and 06 are simple years as far as the codes and things like that are concerned. And the other years, depending on the situation, that's how we ask questions. What are the codes? And then go through and diagnose the issues.
Sure. Do you often find that you're selling them a computer at the end of that conversation?
Not all the time.
Okay.
Because it's not all the time that they have a problem. And when I tell them, if I ask questions and they're not experiencing any of the typical symptoms, and there's no codes leading us back to the symptoms, I tell them point blank, I don't think it's your computer.
Interesting.
And then if it's if it's something that's not their daily driver, send it in to us. We run these computers in our Jeeps as a courtesy. We do not charge you anything. And if the problems are present in our Jeeps, it's the computer. If they're not present in their Jeeps, you need to fix your Jeep.
Interesting. And I guess one of the final pieces as we work towards wrapping this up, years ago when we had first become acquainted and talking, you had, to my knowledge, you shared with me that you had other Chrysler computers. You have other computer work that you can do. Is that still a thing?
Oh, yeah.
I believe at that time you had a bunch of Chrysler computers for like diesel trucks even.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, let's see if I can. Let's see how we do this here. There's some diesel computers. There's some diesel computers.
So for our listeners, he's showing them right on his camera there.
Yes.
Yeah.
So a bunch of not just Jeep computers then. You are doing other platforms.
Yes, sir. The 05, 06 TJs put us on the map.
Yes.
But from 3.7s, 4.7s, Hemis, Hellcats, and Cummins, Power Stroke, and Duramax, we work on everything. We do a lot of business with 4x4 shops. So we've got we've got a strong, I don't want to say a stronghold. We've got a
Oh, I think he froze up.
I think we lost his feed, but I think what Mark was sharing was that he
Has a niche.
he has a niche, and I certainly know from talking with him previously that he's well prepared. Obviously, Chrysler computers, and if you're one of our longtime listeners or YouTube viewers and whatnot, you know that Chrysler computers are not the most friendly computer that is on the OE manufacturer's market.
The OE started off almost on the wrong foot with Chrysler computers because it was like, well, why would you want to change or do anything with this? It's a perfect entity in itself.
Yeah, they locked it out. If you're a 2015 plus JK owner, the challenge of.
Well, and they did that far
easy.
before that. They wouldn't share with aftermarket or help or anything. So it made it a challenge right out of the gate.
Correct.
With their attitude almost.
Of course, with GM, it was a much more friendly, and we could get in, and more people could get in and modify GM harnesses and GM computers.
Yes.
So it looks like Mark's back. And Darla, one of our customers, actually has a question for you. She's asking, do you always have the same problem in a customer Jeep as in your Jeep when you're testing the computer? Is it always the same problems?
No, it isn't. It just depends on the year and those particular problems. There's intermittent problems that go on with these with computers, and having the Jeeps just eliminates those intermittent problems. We can test for certain things on the bench, but putting them in the Jeeps is it's putting the punctuation point at the end of the sentence.
Yep.
And,
Sure. Perfect.
It's
So-
like putting a motor on a dyno versus saying it's assembled correctly.
100%.
Yep.
100%. It's the practical application. Man, Mark, this was fantastic. We really appreciate your presence on our program today. Obviously, we strongly endorse Wrangler Fix. If you're coming to us with that the computer control issue, that we go through that diagnostic process and we confirm that it is, because we take that very seriously. We don't want to just throw parts at your problem. But if we, are having to do that, we're sourcing a Wrangler Fix computer at this point, and we thank you for that integrity. That is an appropriate extension of our process itself. So fold extension of appreciation to you and what you've built there in Broward County.
We're gonna transition to a hashtag not sponsored product spotlight, and you're welcome to stay on if you'd like to.
Okay.
I'm gonna do the transition quick.
Okay, go ahead.
And now it's time for our product spotlight. Hashtag not sponsored. Spotlight. Hashtag not sponsored.
Today we're bringing the heat.
We're bringing the heat. We are.
Scott's been waiting to say that the entire episode.
Thinking that the whole episode. So for our listeners, what Scott is holding up is a handheld map gas torch.
Yes.
Okay. And ultimately the joke that I've certainly been exposed to is, if you can't solve it in diagnosis, solve it with fire.
Yes.
And
It
so
can't be stuck if it's liquid.
that can't be stuck if it's liquid.
Just FYI, map gas is really useful for lighting fireworks, because a propane torch, when you tip it upside down, will go out.
Well, and ultimately, that's what the value of this conversation, folks, for as part of our hashtag not sponsored conversation is specifically talking about map gas as a useful tool when you don't have the diagnostic, when you don't have the the integrity-based company to help you through the process.
Oh, and it's one of those perceptions. So at one time I thought, unless you had a big boy torch, which big cart, 2 tanks, actual hose, that kind of stuff, it wasn't worth having this. And I was blatantly wrong and proven wrong pretty hard by Greg, our lead performance mechanic.
Yes.
And I had to eat crow for a while there. If it's stuck, you need to grab your propane torch and try it. And if that doesn't get it done, then grab your map gas. And there is times where you have to get the big boy torch if it's really stuck. But for most DIYers, this will do the job you need.
And I think that's what the value of, as we step away from that kind of heightened level of diagnostic, the finite nature of electronic computer control, and we talk about the old nuts and bolts and literally
Hit it
just
with a hammer.
a big hammer, right? And that's why I kind of thought it was fun to juxtapose the conversation with Mark on this kind of finite, hey, we fix this unicorn of an issue in the 0506 Wrangler, to, hey, how do I just get a bolt unstuck, right? It really shows the diversity of the automotive industry. Map gas, more so than butane or propane or any of those types of individual gas tanks, is a useful high heat index combustible material. So for under $100, and that's what this setup is here that Scott was holding up.
Yep.
It's a self-lighting little trigger switch. It's safe, has a safety tip on it.
I'm going to do you one better because I literally just bought one for my house. It is $65 at your local hardware store, and the tanks are $15 to replace them.
Yeah. And the nice thing is you can be literally in the middle of the project, go, crud, I need to get this unstuck, and run to your local hardware store and pick one up. Or if you wanted the big torch, you have to find a supplier, you have to buy the hoses, you have to have the cart, you have to have all this stuff.
And if you run out of gas when you didn't realize you were
if
that
it's
low.
Sunday at 3:00 and you're out, you're done with the big torch.
The big torches are really valuable for cutting
Yes.
and making metal liquid.
Yes.
But for arguably 85% of your automotive task where you're just trying to unstuck a bolt,
Yes.
this combination of MAP gas and handheld safety torch is more than sufficient. It's a great tool for your off-road pack out equipment to assist a broken Jeeper. You're not going to be fixing any computers anytime soon
No, but
with
thankfully we have
your
people
MAP
for that.
gas. But fortunately and thankfully, we do have Wrangler Fix and good people involved to do that ourselves. So
Mark, you don't use MAP gas on the computers, right?
no MAP gas. I think Mark is muted once
Yep.
again. Thank you so much to
There I
Mark.
am.
There,
there
he
you go.
is. Mark,
I saw a palm
tree. Yeah, we saw palm trees. We saw, sunny skies. That
Yeah.
is fantastic. I'm ready for a vacation, man. Goodness. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Look at all that inventory he's showing off.
He's showing off rows and rows, racks and racks of computers, boxes, technicians behind the scenes, folks who are there prepped and ready. That's amazing, the amount of inventory they have prepped and ready to help out all of our computer control. Like what the gentleman we call Grandpa Lowell, like Grandpa Lowell said years ago, the businesses that prioritize learning the electrical systems of these vehicles will be the ones that carry us through the next 50 years of the automotive industry.
Yep.
And kudos
Absolutely.
to you, Mark, for doing that.
Yeah,
Thank
we-
you. Thank
we
you very
appreciate
much.
you.
Thank you very much for having me on. And as you always know, if you guys need anything, we're always a click or a call away. And we greatly appreciate the time and all of your kind words. Thank you.
For sure.
No problem.
All right, G family, I hope you found this, in instructing and helpful. There'll be some links listed, whether it's on YouTube or in our podcast streaming information, that if you need further information on how to contact Wrangler Fix or any of our technicians here, that information will be listed in the description. Until then, Jeep on.
Keep on.
Jeep on.